The night was quiet, but it was the kind of quiet that made the skin crawl. In the ruined city, broken walls leaned like tired giants, and windows stared empty into the dark. Streets were littered with ashes and bones, and every shadow seemed alive. The world had fallen long ago, and what was left behind was only fear. Elira, a teenage girl with sharp eyes and ragged clothes, walked carefully along the shattered road. She held her breath, listening to every sound, for in this city, silence never lasted long. At night the dead walked. They were slow but endless, and once they caught your scent, they never stopped chasing. Her stomach growled, hunger making her weak. She had been searching all day for food and shelter. The ruins gave nothing, only dust and danger. But as she stepped over a fallen column, something caught her eye. In the rubble lay a small pocket watch, its surface cracked and covered in dirt. At first, Elira thought it was only junk, like everything else left behind by the old world. But then she noticed a faint blue glow leaking through the cracks. It pulsed like a heartbeat, steady and strong. Her fingers trembled as she reached for it. The moment she touched the watch, a strange warmth spread through her hand. The city around her seemed to pause. The wind stopped, the ashes in the air froze. Even her own breath felt heavy, as if the world itself was holding still. Elira gasped and pulled her hand back. The glow dimmed and time seemed to move again. Her heart pounded. What was this strange object? And why did it feel alive? She slipped the watch into her pocket, but the glow bled through the cloth. Casting an eerie light on her face, the ruins seemed darker now, as if the shadows had noticed her. In the distance, a low moan rose, long and broken. Elira froze. The dead had awakened one by one. Shapes moved in the night. Hollow eyes glowed faintly. Bones and torn flesh clung to their frames. Their voices were a chorus of pain. Dragging themselves closer, Elira's legs felt weak. She had escaped them many times before, but now there were too many and they were too close. She ran, her feet slapping against stone. The watch in her pocket burned hotter, pulsing faster. Behind her, the dead moaned louder, dragging their twisted bodies after her. She stumbled through alleys, climbed over broken walls, her breath sharp in her chest, but the sound of pursuit never faded. Her path ended at the edge of a broken square. The buildings here had collapsed inward, forming a pit of rubble and fire. There was no way forward. The dead were closing in from behind. Elira's heart hammered. She pressed her back against the wall, gripping the glowing watch. The nearest corpse reached for her, its mouth gaping wide. Elira screamed and squeezed the watch tight. In that instant, the world shattered. Blue light exploded outward. Flooding the ruins, the dead froze in mid-step. The air itself seemed to break apart like glass. Elira felt her body pulled upward, spun through a tunnel of light. Time itself twisted around her. She tried to scream, but no sound came. Her hands burned, her eyes blinded. And then silence. When she opened her eyes, she was lying in the same square, but it was not the same. The fires were gone. The sky above was red with sunrise instead of black with night. The buildings were whole, not ruined, and there were people, living people, walking in the streets. Elira staggered to her feet, her heart raced. Had she died? Was this a dream? But then she looked at her hand. The watch still glowed, pulsing steady like a second heart somehow. It had pulled her away from the nightmare. Somehow it had bent time itself. She pressed the watch to her chest. Her mind was full of questions, but fear was stronger. If this was the past or another world, what had happened to the dead? And if the watch had saved her once, what would it demand from her next? Elira stood in the middle of the square, surrounded by strangers who looked at her torn clothes and dirt-covered face with confusion. She felt like an intruder out of place. The sound of laughter and life filled the air, but to her it was only a reminder of what she had lost. Her fingers tightened around the watch. She whispered to herself, "What are you?" Far away. Unseen, something stirred. A presence reached across the threads of time, dark and heavy. It had felt the watch awaken. It had felt Elira's first jump. The hunt had begun. Elira stood in the square, her mind spinning. The city around her was alive. Children laughed. Traders shouted in the market. Carts rolled along stone roads. It was nothing like the ruins she had left behind. She touched the glowing pocket watch again, afraid it might drag her away at any second. A group of people stared at her torn clothes. Whispering among themselves, they looked human, but their speech felt strange, old and heavy. Elira could not understand every word. but she caught enough to know they were suspicious. She backed away, clutching the watch close to her chest. Then from the edge of the square, a boy stepped forward. He looked about her age, maybe a little older. His dark hair was messy, his eyes sharp and curious, unlike the others. He did not stare at her with fear. He looked at the watch glowing faintly in her hand. His expression changed as if he knew it. "You have it," he whispered. His voice was clear, and she could understand him. Elira froze. The boy walked closer, keeping his hands raised to show he meant no harm. "Don't be afraid, I'm Cale," he said. "I've been looking for someone like you." Elira tightened her grip. "What do you mean? Someone like me?" she asked. Her voice shook. She was ready to run if he came any closer. Cale stopped just a few steps away. His eyes never left the watch. "That device. It doesn't belong to this time. It's a prescient watch. It bends time. It pulls people through it," he said. His words were steady, but his tone carried both awe and fear. Elira felt her chest tighten. She did not want to believe him. But the blue glow in her hand said it was true. She remembered the zombies reaching for her, the explosion of light and waking here. "You knew about this?" she asked. "How?" Cale hesitated, then pulled something from under his shirt. It was another pocket watch, but his was broken, the glass shattered, the glow inside completely gone. "I had one once," he whispered. "It brought me here too, but mine is dead now." "Only yours works." Elira stared at him. Her fear shifted into confusion. "So, you're not from here either?" she asked. Cale shook his head slowly. "No, I'm from a different line of time, a different future. One where the world burned before the dead even rose." His voice cracked, and for a moment his confident look faltered. "I thought I was the last until I saw you." Elira's heart pounded. For the first time since the ruins, she felt less alone. Yet the words he spoke filled her with more dread. "Why us?" she asked. "Why these watches?" Cale's eyes darkened. He glanced around as if afraid someone might hear. "They were created by something not human," he whispered. "Not for us, not for saving us. They're keys, and every time one is used, it tears the line of time apart." Elira felt the blood drain from her face. She looked at the watch in her palm, glowing steady and innocent, but heavy with meaning. "You're saying this thing is dangerous?" she asked. Cale nodded. "More dangerous than the dead. More dangerous than the plague." He stepped closer, lowering his voice. "And there's someone hunting for it. I've seen her in visions, an alien queen. She feeds on broken timelines. She sends the dead across them. She will come for you, Elira, because you carry the last living prescient watch." The words hit her like a hammer. Her breath grew sharp. Around her the market sounds faded. All she could hear was the echo of Cale's warning. "The queen," she whispered, remembering the heavy shadow she had felt just before the watch pulled her. Suddenly a loud horn echoed across the city. People scattered in fear. Soldiers in dark armor rushed into the square. Their helmets gleamed, their weapons humming with strange light. Cale cursed under his breath. "They've found us," he said, grabbing Elira's wrist. "Come on." Elira yanked her hand back. "Who are they?" she demanded. "Agents of the Queen," Cale hissed. "They serve her across time. They'll take you if they can, and the watch too. You have to trust me." For a moment Elira hesitated. She did not know Cale, and everything about him was strange. But the soldiers moved quickly, their glowing blades slicing through the crowd. People screamed, smoke filled the air, and the ground trembled under marching boots. Elira looked at the boy again. His broken watch hung against his chest, his eyes were sharp. But his hand reached for her with desperate honesty. The choice was clear. She grabbed his hand. Together they ran, slipping through alleys and broken doors. Behind them the soldiers shouted, their footsteps echoing through stone streets. Kyle led her with speed, weaving through the maze of the city as if he had done it many times. They stopped only when the sounds of pursuit faded. Inside an abandoned tower, Kyle let go of her hand and leaned against the wall. "Now you see," he said, his breath heavy. "You can't face this alone, Elira. The Queen already knows about you, and she will never stop. But together, we might stand a chance." Elira stared at the glowing watch in her hand. The blue light pulsed faster, as if it knew the truth of his words. She swallowed hard, nodding slowly. "Then tell me everything," she said, "because if she's hunting me, I need to know how to fight back." Cale's lips curled into a tired but hopeful smile. "Then we start now," he whispered, "before time itself falls apart." Far away in a place beyond their sight, The queen stirred again, her hollow eyes opened, and her voice echoed across the broken lines of time. "The Prescient awakens," she hissed, "and I will have it." The night returned quickly. The city that had once looked alive was now under curfew. Soldiers marched in the streets. Torches burned along the walls, and fear spread like smoke. Elira and Cale hid in the shadows of an old tower, their breaths shallow. The prescient watch pulsed softly in Elira's hand, a reminder of what hunted them. Cale's voice was low, steady but filled with weight. "She controls them," he said, his eyes fixed on the dark horizon. "The queen of the dead. She commands every corpse that walks. Every shadow that crawls, she is not human. And she is not of this time." Elira shivered. She remembered the feeling in the ruins when she first held the watch, that heavy presence pressing against her chest. It had not been her imagination. It was her, the queen, watching, waiting. "Why me?" Elira whispered, her eyes on the glowing watch. "Why not someone else?" Cale's gaze hardened. "Because you have the last working watch, the others are broken or lost. She needs yours to break the last barrier of time. Once she holds it, no world will survive. She will feed on every timeline until nothing is left but her and her army of the dead." Elira's stomach twisted. She did not want this. She did not ask for it. She wanted only to survive, yet the watch had chosen her. And now she was trapped before she could speak. A sound rose in the distance, a low moan that grew into many voices. The air chilled. Birds scattered from the rooftops, and the torches flickered. Cale's eyes widened. "She sends her army," he hissed. "The dead are here." Elira ran to the tower window. Her heart froze. The streets below were no longer empty. Shadows dragged themselves forward. Dozens, then hundreds. Their hollow eyes glowed faintly. Their mouths opened in broken cries. They moved as one body, driven by a will beyond their own. At the center of the horde, Elira saw her. The queen. She was tall, draped in black robes that moved like smoke. Her face was pale, her eyes burning red. Around her, the dead crawled closer, reaching for her like worshippers. The sight made Elira's blood run cold. Cale pulled her back from the window. "Don't let her see you," he warned. "She can sense the watch through your fear. If you let your fear grow, she will find you faster," but it was too late. Elira felt it, the queen's gaze, a heavy weight pressed against her chest. Stealing her breath, she staggered. Clutching the watch, her vision blurred, and in her mind she saw her. The queen stood in a place of endless bones, her voice a whisper that cut like knives. "Child of time," the queen hissed, "you carry what is mine, surrender. And I will let you live as one of my chosen. Refuse, and I will tear your world apart." "Every world apart," Elira screamed and dropped to her knees. The vision vanished, leaving her trembling and pale. Kyle knelt beside her, his hand gripping her shoulder. "She touched your mind, didn't she?" he asked. His voice shook, but his eyes burned with anger. Elira nodded weakly. "She knows me," she whispered. "She wants the watch. She won't stop until she has it." Cale's jaw tightened. "Then we don't let her," he said. His hand moved to his broken watch, his eyes full of old pain. "She destroyed my timeline. I won't let her destroy yours too. We fight or we run, but we don't give her what she wants." The sound of breaking wood echoed through the tower. The dead had reached the door, their rotten hands clawing at the frame. Dust rained from the ceiling as the door bent inward. Elira stood shakily, holding the glowing watch. Her fear turned to fire. "Then we run," she said. "But one day, Cale, we fight." Cale's eyes met hers, and for the first time, there was a spark of hope. "One day," he agreed. Together they fled higher into the tower, slipping through a hole in the roof onto the shingles. The city below was drowning in the dead. Their moans echoed like thunder. The queen raised her arms, her voice a haunting cry. The dead moved faster. Climbing walls and breaking gates, her power filled the night. Elira and Cale ran across the rooftops, the watch burning bright in her hand. The queen's gaze followed them, her laughter rising like a storm. "Run while you can, child," her voice whispered in Elira's mind. "Every step you take, every world you touch, I will follow, and when you fall, time itself will die with you." Elira bit her lip until it bled. She did not answer, but her heart screamed with defiance. She was afraid, but she would not surrender. Not now, not ever. As they leapt from roof to roof, Cale looked at her. "She won't stop, you felt it, didn't you?" he asked. Elira nodded, her eyes burning. "I felt it," she said. "But if she wants this watch, She'll have to tear it from my hands. Behind them, the queen raised her hand. The dead surged faster. Buildings crumbled under their weight. Fire spread through the city. The night was no longer night, it was war. Elira and Cale disappeared into the smoke, their silhouettes small against the chaos. The watch pulsed like a heartbeat, carrying them forward into a destiny they did not choose. Far behind, the queen stood tall, her voice rolling like thunder. The Prescient cannot hide, the girl is mine. The night of fire never ended. Elira and Cale ran through broken streets until their legs ached. The watch burned against her palm, pulsing stronger with every step. It was as if it wanted something, pulling her forward, whispering without words. They reached the edge of the city where the ruins met the dark plains. Behind them, the queen's army filled the streets. A sea of crawling dead. The queen herself towered at their center, her gaze fixed on the rooftops where they had fled. Cale's breath was sharp, his voice low. She's closing in, Elira. We can't outrun her forever. Elira clutched the watch tighter. Her heart pounded with fear. Then we don't run, she said. We jump. Before Cale could speak, she pressed the watch. Blue light exploded, swallowing them both. The world twisted into ribbons of color. Her stomach turned. Her body felt weightless and heavy all at once. She heard whispers in the tunnel of time, thousands of voices screaming at once, then everything broke. They landed on the ground with a heavy crash. Dust filled their mouths. Elira coughed and stood, her eyes widened. The city was still there, but it was no longer alive. It burned with endless fire, towers crumbled into ash. The streets were rivers of bones. The dead walked everywhere, not in dozens, not in hundreds, but in countless waves. Cale staggered beside her. His face went pale. No, he whispered. We're too far. This is one of the shattered futures. Elira looked at him, her heart thundering. What do you mean, shattered? Cale's eyes filled with sorrow. He lifted his broken watch. The glass still cracked and black. When the devices are used too often, when time bends too far, it breaks, he said. The world splits, reality collapses. What you see now is the result. A future where everything failed, where no one survived. Elira's hands shook, she turned in a slow circle. The sky was cracked like broken glass, glowing red and black. She could see other fragments hanging in the sky, pieces of cities, forests, oceans, all floating like shards of memory. Her voice was a whisper. It's like the world itself was torn apart. Cale nodded. And the queen grows stronger here. Every broken future feeds her. Every death adds to her army. She is the only constant in these shattered places. The sound of moans echoed. The dead stirred, crawling from the ruins, their hollow eyes glowing brighter. They dragged themselves forward, faster than the ones Elira had seen before, their hunger stronger, their movements sharper. Elira's chest tightened. We can't stay here, she cried. They'll tear us apart. But before Cale could answer, a figure appeared among the ruins. A woman, thin and tired, with ash covering her face. She carried a spear made from broken metal. Behind her, more survivors appeared, men, women, even children. They looked beaten but alive, their eyes filled with both shock and hope at the sight of strangers. Elira gasped. There are people here. The woman pointed her spear at them, her voice rough. Who are you? How did you appear here? Cale raised his hands. We mean no harm. We were pulled here by the watch. He nodded toward Elira, who held the glowing device. The survivors murmured, some stepping back in fear, others leaning closer with curiosity. The woman's eyes widened, her voice shook. The Prescient, she whispered. It's real. The prophecy is real, Elira frowned. What prophecy? The woman lowered her spear slowly, her face full of awe. Long ago, before the final collapse, stories spread of a child who would carry the last working watch, the one who could walk across time, the one who could end the queen's reign. We called her the Prescient, and now she stands before us. Elira froze. The survivors looked at her as if she were a savior, but inside she felt only fear. She shook her head. No, I'm not a savior. I'm just trying to survive. The woman's eyes softened. Survivors don't glow with the power of time, she said gently. You were chosen, whether you wanted or not. Cale stepped forward, his voice sharp. If this prophecy is true, then the queen already knows. She's coming and she won't stop. If we stay, she'll find you, and she'll slaughter everyone here. A deep tremor rolled across the ground. Dust fell from broken walls. The moans of the dead grew louder. The queen's voice echoed in the burning sky, hollow and cruel. You cannot hide, child. Not in past, not in future. All broken paths lead back to me. The survivors trembled. Some dropped their weapons, others wept. Elira's chest burned with panic, but also anger. She looked at the woman, at the children clinging to their mothers, at the hopeless eyes turned toward her. She could not abandon them, not now. She raised the watch, its glow cutting through the smoke. "If she's coming, then we fight," she said. Her voice was steadier than she felt. "I don't know how to save the world, but I won't let her take it without a fight." Cale stared at her, surprised, then slowly nodded. "Then we stand together," he said. His broken watch hung lifeless, but his determination burned bright. The survivors lifted their weapons, their faces lit by fire and fear. The ground shook harder, and from the broken streets, armies of the dead marched. Thousands of hollow eyes locked onto the girl with the glowing watch. Above the flames, the queen appeared again, her shadow spreading across the cracked sky. Her voice rolled like thunder. "Prescient, child. You cannot change what is already mine." Elira tightened her grip. Her heart thundered, fear filled her bones. But courage burned hotter for the first time. She believed maybe the prophecy was not just a story. Maybe she was more than just a survivor. She whispered to herself, "If time chose me, then I'll fight for it." The queen raised her hand, and the dead roared. The shattered future shook. The battle was about to begin. The shattered city burned like a furnace. Fire painted the sky red, ash fell like snow. The survivors stood in a circle around Elira and Kyle, their weapons crude but their eyes sharp. They believed in her now. They whispered "Prescient" under their breaths as if the word itself could keep them alive. Elira felt the weight of their stares. Her hand tightened around the glowing watch. She had never asked to lead anyone, but their fear had turned into hope, and that hope now rested on her shoulders. Kyle stood close, his gaze scanning every shadow, his voice low. "Don't trust too quickly, fear makes people dangerous." The leader of the survivors, the woman with the spear, approached. She gave Elira a tired but respectful nod. "We'll follow you," she said. "If you carry the Prescient, then you are the only one who can guide us. We've lived too long in despair, but if there is even a chance to fight back, we will take it." Elira nodded, her voice soft but steady. "Then we fight together. But know this, the Queen is stronger than anything we've ever faced. She will try to break us not only with her army, but with lies and fear," the survivors murmured. Some were brave, others trembled. Yet in the firelight, they looked more alive than the city itself for a moment. Elira felt something she had not felt in years, belonging. But Kale's warning was not far from truth in the crowd. One man watched Elira with eyes darker than the rest. His name was Vare, his hands clutched a rusted blade, and his face carried the scars of endless battles. He had lost his family to the Queen's army. His grief had turned into bitterness, and that bitterness whispered louder than hope. As the night deepened, Elira and Kyle planned with the survivors. They marked paths through the ruins, lit fires to slow the dead, and prepared to hold the line when the Queen's army came. Elira spoke of resistance. Kale spoke of strategy. The survivors listened, their hearts lifting for the first time in years. But Vare stood apart. His thoughts were poisoned. He looked at the watch in Elira's hand, glowing softly like a star. In his mind, it was the reason the Queen hunted them, the reason more blood would be spilled to him. The watch was not hope, it was a curse. Late that night, while the others slept in the ruins, Vare slipped away. He moved through broken streets until the air grew heavy. Until the shadows thickened, he knelt in the dust and whispered, "I know you hear me." The ground trembled. Smoke twisted into shape, and there she was, the Queen. Her hollow eyes burned, her voice like silk and ash. "You called to me," she hissed, while Vare bowed his head, trembling. "End this, end our suffering. Take the watch, spare us. Let me live without this endless fear." The Queen's lips curled into a cruel smile. "A small mind broken by grief," she whispered. "You ask for mercy, yet you offer me what I already own." Vare's voice cracked. "I can deliver her to you, the girl, the Prescient. She trusts us, she trusts me. When the time is right, I'll lead her into your hands." The Queen reached out. Her hand cold as the void, she touched his face. "Then betray her, and I will let you stand beside me. You will not die like the others. You will live as mine." Vare's heart burned with twisted hope. He nodded, sealing his fate. Back at the survivor camp, Elira woke with a start. The watch glowed brighter than before, pulsing hard against her chest. She looked at Cale, whispering, "It feels wrong. Something's coming." Cale frowned, his hand on his broken watch. "She's closer than before," he said. "We need to move fast." Morning came with smoke and silence. The survivors gathered, ready to march deeper into the ruins. Illyra led them with the watch as their guide. Cale stayed close, scanning faces. His eyes lingered on Vare, but he said nothing. As they crossed the broken square, the Queen's army appeared from the shadows. The dead marched in thousands, their cries shaking the air. Panic spread through the survivors. Illyra raised the watch high, its light cut across the sky. Slowing the dead, for a moment it felt like victory. But then Vare moved. His hand gripped Illyra's arm, his blade pressed against her side. Kyle shouted, but it was too late. Vare dragged her back, his voice wild. "No more death for us, girl, you end it now." "Give her the watch." Gasps filled the air. The survivors stared in shock. Some shouted for him to stop, others froze in fear. Illyra's chest tightened. Betrayal stung deeper than the blade at her ribs. "Vare," she whispered. "Why?" His eyes were broken, filled with tears and rage. "Because of you." "She hunts us," he shouted. "Because of you, my family is gone. If I give you to her, maybe she will stop. Maybe she will let us live." Cale's face twisted with fury. "She will never stop, you fool. You think she spares the weak? She will kill us all." With or without the watch, but Vare did not listen. He dragged Illyra toward the advancing army, the Queen's shadow rising behind them. The dead cleared a path as their mistress appeared, her eyes glowing with hunger. "Good," the Queen hissed, her voice filling the square. "Bring me the child, and I will reward you." Illyra struggled. The watch burned in her hand. She felt its power trembling. Screaming, she looked at Cale, her eyes desperate. Cale moved forward, his voice like steel. "Illyra, don't give in. She only wins if you surrender." The Queen stretched out her hand. Her laugh sharp as thunder. Vare pushed Illyra closer. His tears falling in that moment. The watch pulsed brighter. Time itself trembled. Illyra knew then. Betrayal had brought her closer to the Queen than ever before. But it had also awakened something new inside the watch. Something she had not yet understood. The Queen's shadow loomed, the dead roared, and Illyra's choice hung in the air. One wrong move, and the future itself would shatter forever. The Queen's shadow stretched across the shattered square. Her hollow eyes glowed with hunger. Illyra felt Vare's grip tighten on her arm, dragging her closer to the monster who commanded the dead. Her heart thundered. The survivors shouted, some begging him to stop, others frozen in horror. Cale's voice rose above them all. Sharp and desperate, "Illyra, fight her. Don't let the betrayal break you." The watch burned hot in her palm, brighter than ever before. Its light spilled through her fingers like liquid fire. She gasped, her vision spinning. In that instant, time itself cracked open again. The Queen reached forward, her voice sharp as knives. "Give me what is mine, child, and I will end your suffering." But before she could speak, the watch erupted, the square dissolved, the screams vanished, and the world folded inside out. Illyra fell through the tunnel of light. Cale's hand reached for her, his face full of determination. And then the past swallowed them whole. She landed hard on stone, her chest aching. The world around her looked different. The fires were gone, the sky was clearer. The city was not shattered. Not yet. The towers stood whole, the markets full. The smell of food drifted through the streets. Illyra's breath caught. "The past," she whispered. "The watch sent us back." Cale stood beside her, his broken watch sparking faintly as if it had awakened for a moment. His eyes widened. "This is it. This is the time before the plague. Before the Queen's army rose," he said. His voice shook with awe and fear. "This is where everything began." Illyra's chest tightened. She looked at the watch glowing steady in her hand. "It brought us here for a reason," she said. "This is our chance to stop her before the plague ever starts." Cale nodded. His jaw set. "Then this is where we make our stand." But the past was not safe. Shadows moved quickly. People in dark cloaks walked the streets, their eyes glowing faint red. They were not the walking corpses Illyra had seen. They were alive, but something about them felt wrong. Their movements sharp, their faces hollow. Cale's voice dropped low. "Her agents, she had spies even in this time. They are seeds of the plague." The crowd parted, and at the center the Queen appeared, not a shadow this time, but flesh. Her beauty was terrible, her skin pale as marble. Her eyes burning crimson, she walked with grace, the living agents bowing before her. The sight made Elira's stomach twist. The queen smiled, her voice smooth. So the little Prescient runs to the past. Do you think you can change what is already written? Child, you cannot escape me, not in future, not in history. Elira's grip tightened on the watch. If I can't escape, then I'll fight, she shouted. Her voice rang through the square. The survivors from the shattered future had not followed her. But Cale stood at her side, his broken watch clutched like a weapon. The queen's laugh was cold. She raised her hand, and the agents moved forward. Their blades gleamed, their eyes empty. The first strike came fast. Kyle blocked with his broken watch, sparks flying. Elira swung a broken staff she had grabbed from the ground. The fight began. Time itself rippled. The watch in Elira's hand pulsed. Bending moments, slowing strikes, twisting footsteps. She dodged blows that should have killed her. Struck back with strength she never knew she had. Kyle fought beside her, his movements fierce and desperate. The queen watched, her smile fading. Her voice echoed across the square. You think you are strong, Prescient, but you are nothing without fear. Fear is what feeds me, and you cannot escape it. Elira's breath came sharp. Sweat covered her face, but she pushed back. I am afraid, she shouted, striking down another agent. But fear doesn't make me weak, it makes me fight harder. The watch flared brighter. Time bent further, the queen hissed. Shadows spilling from her hands, the square darkened. Corpses rose from the ground even in the past. The first whispers of the plague. Cale shouted, She's bringing it early. She's ripping open the plague before its time. The city screamed. People ran. The dead clawed at the living. The agents struck with fury, but Elira held her ground. The watch burned against her skin. Blue fire spilling across the square, slowing the plague. Holding back the queen's power, Cale shouted over the chaos. Elira, the watch is alive. It reacts to you. Use it. End her here and now. Elira's chest ached. The watch pulsed like a heart. She closed her eyes, focused on the rhythm, and whispered, If time chose me, then I choose to fight. Blue fire erupted, flooding the square. The dead froze mid-step. The agents turned to ash. The queen screamed, her form flickering like smoke. Her eyes burned brighter. You cannot destroy me, Prescient. I am the hunger of time itself. Elira opened her eyes, her voice steady. Then I will starve you. She pressed the watch. The fire swallowed the queen. The city trembled. The plague's shadow recoiled. For a moment, silence fell. Cale fell to his knees, gasping, his face covered in sweat and blood. He looked at Elira with awe. You did it. You broke her hold. You've changed everything. Elira stood in the ruins of the battle, her hands trembling, the watch glowing faint. She looked at the people staring at her in shock. Survivors of a plague that had not yet come. She whispered to herself, Not everything is saved. Not yet, because even as the queen's form burned away, her voice echoed one last time across the sky, cruel and endless. I am never gone, child. I will return. Time itself belongs to me. Elira shivered, clutching the watch. Cale stood and placed a hand on her shoulder. If she returns, then we'll be ready, he said. His voice was tired but firm. The city was quiet now. The dead were gone. The plague had been delayed, but the war was not over. The last stand was only the beginning. The city lay in silence. Smoke drifted across the rooftops. The fires had died, the screams had faded. For the first time since Elira had held the watch, there was peace. She stood in the center of the square where the battle had ended. Her hands shaking, the glow of the watch faint now, dim like an ember after a storm. Cale walked beside her, his body bruised, his clothes torn. His broken watch dangled from his neck, lifeless, but his eyes were alive. He looked at Elira, his voice low and full of awe. You did it, Elira. You stopped her. You pushed her back. Elira shook her head slowly. Not stopped, she whispered. Delayed, she said she will return. And I believe her. Around them, survivors of the city slowly gathered. People who had seen death and plague in their dreams but now stood in a world that had not yet fallen. They looked at Elira with wonder. Some bowed. Others whispered her name, Prescient, the girl who carried time. Elira felt the weight of their eyes and turned away. She did not want to be worshipped. She was no hero. Her hands still trembled with fear. But in her heart, something else stirred. A spark of strength. She had survived, she had fought, and she had given the people hope. Cale placed a hand on her shoulder, steadying her. The queen will return, he said, but so will we. We're not done yet. Elira nodded, gripping the watch tighter. Its glow flickered, weak but alive. She whispered to it, You chose me, and I will not run. Not anymore. Days passed, the city rebuilt. The scars of the attack faded. The people planted crops, raised walls, and filled the air with voices of the living instead of the dead. Illyra watched them from a distance, unsure of her place among them. She was both part of this world and apart from it. A traveler of time, one evening as the sun set, Cale joined her on the city wall. The sky was painted gold and crimson. He leaned against the stone, his voice thoughtful. "Do you ever wonder why us?" he asked. "Why we were chosen to carry these watches?" To fight her, Illyra stared at the horizon. "Every day," she admitted. "I was just a girl trying to survive. I didn't ask for this. But maybe time doesn't choose those who want the fight. Maybe it chooses those who need to find their strength." Cale smiled faintly. "Then it chose well." Silence stretched between them. But it was not heavy. For the first time, it was calm. The sound of laughter drifted from the city below. Children running through the streets, their voices bright. It was a sound Illyra had not heard in years, and it filled her chest with warmth. But as night came, the watch pulsed again. A steady rhythm. Illyra felt its weight. She knew the battle was not finished. The queen had been driven back, but her voice still echoed in her mind, promising return. The future was not secure. Not yet, that night, Illyra dreamed. She stood in a field of stars. The queen's shadow loomed far away. But another figure appeared. It was her own reflection. Older, stronger, holding the same watch. Her reflection spoke softly. "The fight is not over, Prescient. Every choice you make shapes tomorrow, and tomorrow always comes." Illyra woke with tears in her eyes. Cale slept nearby, the broken watch still against his chest. She looked at him and whispered, "Then we keep moving forward." At dawn, Illyra gathered what little she owned. The survivors begged her to stay. Some called her savior. Others pleaded for her guidance. She smiled at them, but shook her head. "I cannot stay. Time is not done with me," she said gently. "If I remain, she will find you again, but if I move, if I carry this burden away, maybe you will have peace." The people wept, but they understood. They gave her food, water, and their blessings. The children clung to her, thanking her with small hands. Illyra hugged them tightly before leaving. Her heart heavy but her path clear, Cale walked with her, his eyes steady. "You think I'm letting you face her alone," he said. "I lost my world once, I won't lose another. Wherever you go, I follow." Illyra smiled for the first time in days. "Then we walk together," she whispered. They stepped beyond the gates. The road stretched before them, empty but endless. The watch pulsed, faint but constant. A reminder that their journey was not finished. The queen was not gone, but neither were they. As the sun rose behind them, the people of the city watched from the walls. They would tell stories of the girl with the glowing watch and the boy who fought beside her. Stories that would grow into legend. Stories of hope and far away beyond time and shadow. The queen stirred in the darkness. Her voice whispered across broken futures. "You delay the inevitable, Prescient, but I am patient. I will return, and when I do, all time will be mine." Illyra felt the echo in her chest. She did not fear it. She only gripped the watch tighter, her voice steady. "Then I'll be waiting." The road stretched into the horizon. The dawn broke brighter than before, and for the first time in a long time, Illyra believed that humanity still had a future.